The other synchronicity from the Hindu texts includes the presence of something called Vimanas, which are said to be flying palaces or chariots that are very common in a number of stories. The mythology here raises interesting questions due to its similarities to other tales from around the world. Could the stories of the Anunnaki and their ships be related in some way to the flying chariots of the Hindu gods? It's not actually as crazy as it sounds that early Indus River Valley civilization and Mesopotamia had cultural links. Stretching as far back as 9,000 to 6,500 BC, indirect contact seems to have occurred as the consequence of the Neolithic Revolution and the spread of agriculture after 9,000 BCE. The prehistoric agriculture of South Asia is thought to have combined local resources like cattle with farming resources from the Near East as a first step around 8,000 BCE. At the site of Mehrgarh in Pakistan around 7,000 BCE, full sets of Near Eastern agricultural products can be found, stuff like wheat and barley, as well as goats, sheep, and cattle. Later on, trade kind of exploded between the two regions, with stuff like clove heads from the Moluccas being found at Tel Ashara, different kinds of shells and beads being found at various sites around 2500 BCE, and of course, lavishly decorated cylinder seals depicting mythological scenes or animals. The bottom line is, with trade happening pretty consistently until the Indus civilization collapsed, it's almost common sense to acknowledge that cultural ideas and mythologies also got exchanged. In this, even the real mythologies themselves are fascinating and have tons of curious connections throughout without needing to elaborate on them. If there's any grain of truth to these stories at all, then it adds credence to the idea that at one point, perhaps there were advanced civilizations with incredible technologies in our ancient past. Now, looking at our story regarding the fall of Atlantis and the influence of these other beings in the Mesopotamian accounts, it appears that countless cultures have been influenced by these Near Eastern schools of thought, from the Persians to the Greeks, and even much later, it appears as though the Judeo-Christian religions all seem to stem from each other like branches of a tree. But what about the people across the rest of the world? In this historical theory, it suggests that there were still civilizations existing elsewhere on the earth at the time of the fall, because when the inhabitants of Mu left their home, not all of them went to Atlantis. Some moved to the continents we call the Americas, and others went to Asia. This would make sense considering Mu would have been directly between those two in the Pacific Ocean. With this idea, we see this theory begin to explain how different spiritualities developed in different regions of the world. The Lemurians who did not migrate to Atlantis would not have had the same experiences that the Atlanteans did with the fall. And if the stories are true, neither would they have become more left-brain thinkers. And so after the fall, their spiritualities would have developed based on their environments and any supportive influence from those who made it through with their memories intact. When we observe the world's religions today, there are really three main forms that we can identify. Firstly, we have the Western faiths, which are generally the Abrahamic ones, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, but which relate with the Greek, Persian, and Egyptian mystery schools from thousands of years prior. Next, we have the Eastern spiritualities like Taoism, Buddhism, Shinto, and so on, which are more to do with connecting with the spirit of nature or going deep within yourself to cultivate inner peace and stillness. Generally, these paths are less seen as religions, but ways of life and traditions to create harmony in one's life. The last faith group are the indigenous spiritualities, which are usually shamanic and animistic in nature, and are often developed around connecting with the spirit of the planet and nature in an intimate relationship to aid in spiritual, emotional, and even physical healing.